Let me tell you something, and I need you to hear it with your heart, and not just your ears. You were never meant to be broken. No matter what life tried to convince you of, no matter what your past said about you, no matter who left, who hurt you, or who tried to bury you beneath their insecurities, you were never meant to be broken. You were born with the mark of royalty, stamped by the Creator, breathed into existence with purpose, with power, with divine dignity. You are a queen in God's eyes, and queens, real queens, don't crumble, they rise. Now that crown doesn't come easy. That crown, it costs. It costs tears, it costs trials, it costs moments of feeling like you were forgotten in the dark. But God does His best work in the dark. Seeds grow in the soil before they ever reach the sunlight. Diamonds are formed under pressure before they ever shine. And a queen is refined through fire, through storms, through pain, through seasons of silence, through the wilderness when all you got is your faith and your breath. You don't get the crown by skipping the process. You get the crown by surviving what was sent to destroy you and still standing. You ever look in the mirror and see the weight behind your eyes? That's not weakness. That's not shame. That's the residue of battles you fought in silence. That's the memory of nights you cried with nobody there but God. That's the strength of a woman who kept showing up when everything in her wanted to disappear. That's the beauty of a queen, not because of how she looks when she's done up, but how she carries herself when life tries to drag her down. You don't lose your crown because you fell. You only lose it when you forget who you are. See the world. The world will try to define you by your past. It'll take your mistakes and try to make them your name. But God doesn't see you like that. He's not looking at your broken moments and counting you out. He's looking at your heart, your fight, your willingness to get back up again. When God sees you, He sees royalty. When God sees you, He sees a woman worthy of honor. And His word says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, not partially, not occasionally, not if you behave, but always, through and through. You were chosen. Before your mother ever held you, before you had a name, before the pain, before the trauma, before the disappointment, you were chosen. And what God chooses, He covers. What God chooses, He calls. What God chooses, He crowns. Now I know, life tried to teach you that your worth is based on what you can give, what you look like, how quiet you are, how much you can endure without complaining. But let me correct that lie right now. Your worth is not up for negotiation. It's not in a man's validation. It's not in society's applause. It's not in how many followers you have, how much you weigh, or whether somebody else sees your light. Your worth is rooted in the God who made you. And baby, He don't make mistakes. So when you walk into a room, I want you to walk like someone who knows her value. Not because you're better than anybody else, but because you know who your Father is. You don't need to beg for love. You don't need to chase affection. You don't need to shrink so others feel tall. A queen doesn't need to prove she's royal, she just is. Her presence commands respect because her spirit carries grace. Her silence is powerful because it's backed by wisdom. Her movement is intentional because it's led by purpose. But understand this too, being a queen isn't about perfection. It's not about having it all together all the time. It's not about pretending to be strong when you're breaking inside. A true queen knows how to surrender to God in her weakest moments. She knows how to fall to her knees not out of defeat, but out of faith. She knows that sometimes the most powerful thing she can say is, God, I need you, because her strength doesn't come from herself, it comes from her source. You can't be crowned if you're still clinging to things that broke you. You can't receive what God has for you if your hands are full of what hurt you. You've got to let go of the pain they caused, let go of the shame you carry, let go of the fear that whispers you're not enough. Let go of the idea that you have to do it all alone. That's not strength, that's survival. And God didn't create you just to survive, He created you to reign. You see, when a queen walks with God, there's a fire in her spirit. There's a peace that doesn't make sense. There's a joy that no storm can steal. There's a confidence that doesn't depend on compliments. She's been through hell, but heaven's hand is on her. She's cried until her eyes were swollen, but she kept praying. She's lost people she thought would stay forever, but she kept walking. She's had her heart broken, but it didn't break her spirit, and every time the enemy thought she was finished, she came back stronger, wiser, louder, and more dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. So stop apologizing for your strength. Stop downplaying your vision. Stop allowing people to confuse your kindness with weakness. You are not what they called you. You are not the mistakes you made. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the abuse you survived. You are not the lies that were spoken over you. You are who God says you are, a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a daughter of the Most High, a queen in His image, not meant to be broken but crowned. And even now, right now, God is restoring what life tried to strip from you. He's rebuilding your confidence. He's reminding you of your beauty. He's reigniting the dreams you buried because of disappointment. He's breathing fresh wind into your soul. This is not the end for you. This is not where your story stops. This is your rise. This is your redemption. This is your reclaiming of everything that was stolen. The enemy thought you were done, but God says you're just getting started. So I dare you to believe again. I dare you to hope again. I dare you to forgive yourself. I dare you to lift your head. I dare you to wear your crown like it belongs to you because it does, and not because you earned it through perfection, but because grace wrapped itself around you and said, "You are still worthy." Let the world say what it wants. Let people misunderstand you. Let the seasons change and the storms rage. You stay planted. You stay grounded. You stay aligned with the God who anointed you, because queens don't fold when life gets heavy. Queens don't retreat when battles come. They rise. They reign. They remind the world that royalty doesn't need to shout to be known. It just needs to stand tall. You are a queen in God's eyes, not just when you're at your best, but when you're at your worst and still choosing to believe, when you're scared but still taking the next step, when you're tired but still lifting others up. That's royalty. That's divine strength. That's what it means to be crowned. So walk like it, speak like it, love like it, forgive like it, live like it, because your crown is already waiting. And when you finally understand the weight of that crown, you'll stop settling for less than what you were created for. You'll stop chasing things that dim your light just to feel accepted. You'll stop shrinking yourself just to fit into spaces that were never built to handle your greatness. Because a queen doesn't beg to be noticed, her presence speaks before she opens her mouth. Her spirit shifts atmospheres. Her heart commands attention because it's pure, it's refined, and it's powerful. There's something about a woman who has walked through the fire and didn't lose her faith. She's different. She's not moved by the noise. She's not desperate for attention. She's not trying to prove a point. She's been through too much to play small. She knows who she is now. She knows what God brought her through. She knows the nights she laid on the floor, curled up in pain, wondering if she would ever smile again, and yet she got up. She smiled again. She laughed again. She loved again. And she worshipped in the middle of her brokenness. You see, God doesn't crown you after the storm. He crowns you in it. He doesn't wait until you're polished and perfect. He anoints you while you're still in the process, while you're still wrestling with doubt, while you're still learning how to forgive, while you're still healing from the trauma. That's how grace works. It meets you in the middle of your mess and says, even here, you're still mine. You might have walked through abandonment, but you're still chosen. You might have been betrayed, but you're still loved. You might have lost your way, but you're still destined for more. God doesn't revoke your crown because of your detours. He doesn't take back his promises because you stumbled. He's not like people who leave when you're no longer convenient. He stays, he covers, he restores. You've been walking around with invisible bruises, hiding your pain behind smiles, making excuses for people who didn't value you, tolerating environments that drained you because you didn't want to be alone. But can I tell you something? Loneliness with peace is better than company that costs you your soul. A queen learns to be okay by herself because she knows she's never truly alone. God is with her, guiding her, teaching her, pruning her, preparing her for something bigger than what she lost. So don't be afraid of the empty places. Don't be afraid of the silence. Don't be afraid of this season of separation. What looks like isolation is often elevation in disguise. What feels like a breakdown is usually a breakthrough. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. God is clearing out what cannot go with you into your next. He's removing the distractions so you can hear him clearly. He's stripping away the things you depended on so you can realize you were never meant to rely on anything but him. The crown you carry doesn't come from the approval of men. It comes from obedience to God, and sometimes obedience looks like walking away from what's familiar. Sometimes it means saying no to what once comforted you. Sometimes it means being misunderstood, misjudged, mocked. But when you obey God, you gain peace this world cannot offer. You gain strength that doesn't make sense. You gain purpose that outlives pain. Don't you know who you are? You are the daughter of the King. That means royalty is in your bloodline. That means excellence runs through your veins. That means you have access to heavenly wisdom, supernatural strength, divine strategy. You were never created to live beneath your calling. You were never created to stay stuck in cycles. You were never created to be anyone's option. You were created to reign, to walk in power, to break generational chains, to shift atmospheres just by showing up. And I know you've been through things that tried to convince you otherwise. I know you've heard voices inside and out that told you you're not enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, not pretty enough. But those voices lie. The truth is, you've always had what it takes. The enemy just hoped you'd never realize it. He hoped you'd keep looking for validation from broken people. He hoped you'd stay distracted by comparison. He hoped you'd keep replaying past pain and never step into your promise. But now you're waking up. Now you're remembering. Now you're reclaiming. And that's dangerous for every lie that tried to keep you in bondage. Because once a queen knows who she is, the game changes. She starts walking in purpose. She starts speaking with boldness. She starts dreaming again. And when she dreams, she builds. And when she builds, she changes lives. And when she changes lives, she brings glory to the God who raised her up. This isn't just about you. This is about every daughter watching you, every sister looking to see if healing is possible, every little girl wondering if she can grow up and be whole. Your journey matters, your healing matters, your breakthrough matters, because when you rise, you give others permission to rise too. When you walk in your crown, you teach others how to wear theirs. So no more hiding, no more settling, no more shrinking, no more apologizing for being too much. You were never too much, you were just in the wrong room. You were never too loud, your voice was just meant to break generational silence. You were never too soft, your heart was made to heal others. You are exactly who you need to be for what God called you to do. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the fear. Let go of the need to control everything. Let God be God in your life. Trust Him when it doesn't make sense. Praise Him when it hurts. Worship when you feel weak. Because that's how queens fight, not with fists, but with faith. Not with pride, but with surrender. Not with manipulation, but with prayer. The most powerful woman in the room is not always the loudest sometimes. She's the one who knows how to go silent and talk to heaven. You don't have to prove your worth. You don't have to force your destiny. You don't have to chase anything. What is yours will recognize you. What is meant for you will find you. And what is from God will never require you to compromise your value to keep it. If it costs your peace, your self-respect, your relationship with God, it's too expensive, let it go, because your crown is too precious to trade for crumbs. You were built for more than survival. You were designed for dominion. You were called to speak life, to walk in freedom, to bless others with the very strength you gained in your struggle. Nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one scar, not one heartbreak. It was all used to shape the queen you are now. You learned, you grew, you discovered who God is not just as a name, but as a keeper, a redeemer, a restorer. And every day you wake up, the enemy gets nervous, because you're not the same woman you used to be. You're wiser now, stronger now, closer to God now. You've got new fire in your bones. You've got new vision, new faith, new discernment. You're no longer available for dysfunction. You're no longer tolerating toxicity. You're no longer chasing things beneath your calling. Because when you finally wear your crown with confidence, your life begins to reflect the glory of the one who gave it to you. You become a living testimony that God still heals. God still elevates. God still calls the broken and makes them whole. That's who you are, a walking miracle, a queen made in the image of the Most High, not broken crowned, not forgotten chosen, not defeated victorious. You've been through the fire, but you didn't burn. You walked through the water, but you didn't drown. You've been tested, but not destroyed. And everything you've survived, it's a sign that purpose still lives in you. That greatness is still in you, that your best days are not behind you, they're rising with you. So keep walking, Queen. Keep praying. Keep believing. Keep building. You've come too far to go back now. And the crown on your life, it's only the beginning. You've stepped into a season where the crown is not just symbolic, it's prophetic. You're not wearing it for show. You're wearing it because God ordained it. You're not dressing up a broken soul. You're rising from one. You've earned your anointing not through applause, but through agony. Through every moment where you held yourself together while everything around you fell apart. Through every decision you made to walk in love when bitterness was easier. Through every time you showed grace when what you really wanted to do was give up. That crown sits on a head that's endured warfare, spiritual, emotional, mental. But it's still there, untouched, undented, unshaken, because God doesn't let what he crowns be destroyed. You were always the one. The enemy just hoped you wouldn't figure it out. You were always the chain breaker, the legacy starter, the voice that would shake generations. He saw your potential before you saw it yourself, and that's why he came for you early. That's why the attacks were intense even when you were young. That's why the heartbreak came before you even knew what love was. That's why you were targeted in relationships, friendships, even family, because you were born to rise above it all, and when you rise, you disrupt darkness. When you rise, you expose lies. When you rise, everything that pretended to have power over you has to bow to the authority God placed inside you. You may not have had someone to affirm you. You may not have grown up in an environment where you were told who you are and what you carry. But sometimes God lets the world forget you so that heaven can introduce you. Because when God reveals who you are, it's louder than any praise man can give. He'll let rejection redirect you. He'll let isolation incubate you. He'll let heartbreak refine you, and then he'll reveal the masterpiece he was forming all along. A woman with scars and wisdom, with softness and fire, with discernment and boldness. A woman who's been through enough to know that her help doesn't come from people, it comes from God. You don't have to convince anyone to see your worth. If they can't recognize the crown, they don't deserve a seat near the throne. Stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Stop opening your spirit to voices that can't comprehend your depth. Stop waiting on someone else to give you permission to walk in what God already gave you. Your obedience is your yes to heaven, not your plea to people. This life isn't about popularity, it's about purpose. And when your crown is from God, you don't need applause to validate it. You just walk in it, boldly, unapologetically, and don't you let shame speak louder than grace. Don't let the echo of your past silence the whisper of God's promise. You are not what you did. You are not what happened to you. You are not who left you. You are not the worst version of yourself. You are evolving, growing, transforming. You are proof that God still does miracles, not just around us, but in us. You are walking evidence that grace rewrites stories, that mercy still finds its way to the broken, that favor can rest on someone who once thought she was forgotten. Every moment that tried to break you had an assignment, to steal your identity, to get you to question your worth, to get you to forfeit your calling, but you didn't fold, you didn't surrender, you stood in the fire even when your knees were shaking. You kept trusting even when all you had were tears. That's what makes you royal, not perfection, but perseverance, not the lack of struggle, but the refusal to give up in the middle of it. You didn't let the wilderness kill your worship. You didn't let the waiting kill your hope, and for that you carry a weight in the spirit that the world cannot understand. There's a glory on your life that can't be fabricated, a light that can't be dimmed, a depth that can't be copied, because it was formed in private. It was formed in the secret place, when no one was watching, when it was just you and God, when the prayers didn't have fancy words, just raw tears, when the faith didn't feel big, but you held on anyway. That's where royalty is born, not in palaces, but in pressure, not in comfort, but in chaos. And now that you've been through what you've been through, you carry something eternal, something sacred, something that won't break under the weight of destiny. You've been loyal to people who wouldn't even be consistent for you. You've stayed in places that were beneath your calling just because it felt familiar. But now God is calling you higher. And when God calls you higher, He doesn't wait for you to feel ready. He simply says, come, even if your knees are still bruised, even if your heart still hurts, even if you're still figuring it out. You come because royalty doesn't wait to be perfect. It responds to the king's voice. And when he calls you queen, it doesn't matter who never did. You've spent enough time doubting yourself, second guessing your value, holding back your voice. Now it's time to take your place, to stand in the identity that God wrote into your DNA before the foundation of the world. You were never average, never ordinary, never random. That's why the attacks were strategic, because your life is significant. And when you step into the fullness of who you are, atmospheres will shift, legacies will change. People will heal just from being in your presence, not because you're perfect, but because you carry presence. The presence of a woman who knows her God and refuses to live beneath the level of her anointing. You are a safe space for others because you've been unsafe before. You are a voice of healing because you've had to heal yourself through nights of silence. You are a mentor, a light, a mother, a sister, a builder of nations. And you don't need a title to walk in authority. You don't need a platform to carry impact. You don't need validation to walk in power. You need one thing, obedience, and with that, nothing can stop you. No curse, no lie, no betrayal, no delay. You were built for this. You were born for this. You were crowned for this. And I know it gets heavy. I know it gets lonely. I know sometimes you look around and wonder when the breakthrough will come. But hear me, God sees you. He hears every unspoken prayer. He bottles every tear, and He's not just preparing the promise for you. He's preparing you for the promise, because the throne He's calling you to requires maturity, requires surrender, requires discernment. You don't want to step into your destiny before your character can carry it. So trust the process, even when it hurts, even when it's slow, even when it feels like nothing's changing, because something is changing you. And when you change, everything around you has to shift. The way you think changes. The way you speak changes. The way you love changes. The way you allow people to treat you changes. Queens don't chase. They choose, queens don't settle. They stand, queens don't follow the crowd. They lead with integrity, and your crown will attract attention, yes, but it'll also attract warfare. Don't be surprised when the pressure increases. It's confirmation that you're stepping into your royal assignment. So keep showing up, keep praying, keep believing, even when it looks like nothing is happening, even when the doors stay shut a little longer, even when the loneliness creeps in, because this isn't about a moment, it's about a movement. You are part of something eternal, something divine, something that won't fade when trends shift. You are part of God's divine narrative, and your obedience is writing a legacy that generations will read. Your life is not random, your crown is not imaginary, your battles were not wasted, and your future is not in question. God has already gone before you. He's already prepared the way. You just have to walk in it, with your head high, your heart surrendered, and your crown secure. Because once a queen remembers who she is, the world can never go back to the way it was. You are a queen in God's eyes, not because you say it, but because He said it. And when God speaks, everything else must bow. So now, stand tall in your truth. Not just as a woman who has survived, but as a queen who was crowned before the storm ever touched her. You are not who life tried to make you. You are who God always knew you were, destined, anointed. Set apart, let your scars speak of victory. Let your past be the soil where your purpose grows. And let your crown be the silent declaration that nothing formed against you could win. Walk like the throne is waiting. Speak like the heavens are listening. Love like your heart has been healed by the hands of the Creator Himself, because it has. You were never meant to be broken. You were always meant to be crowned.